Hey everyone, Case here, and today I am doing something a little different. So this is the JayJays Molle double ammo pouch in full multicam. And this is just that, a singular pouch that I want to do a review on. This is kind of unique for the channel as we do product reviews and I like to do them. However, to do one just on a singular pouch seemed a bit redundant. But I think this is the exception to that. And the reason for that is, outside of me liking it, potentially one of the best pieces of kit you can add to your belt kit or LBE kit. I'm not saying that about any other types of loadouts such as chest rigs or plate carriers, we'll get to that. But specifically for the niche use of belt kit, this might be one of the best things you could add to your kit. And obviously throughout this video, I'm going to explain why. And yes, I understand that's a pretty grand statement. But I think this pouch is worth it. So despite me only having a review on a singular pouch, I'm going to make a whole video about it. Okay, so before we actually talk about the pouch itself, I do want to talk about the company. As I've kind of mentioned in some of the Gear Talk videos before, as I have used these pouches for quite a while. But I don't think they're really known very well here in the US. First off, they were founded in 1993. In Brecon, Wales, so in the United Kingdom, and they really focus on military and law enforcement. In addition, they focus, especially pouches like this, a lot on belt kit, which is something that's only recently making a comeback in the United States in several decades of plate carrier and chest rig supremacy, where certain equipment like this may not be as useful. However, again, in recent years, that's changing and people are starting to realize who they are. I would also say that though they do heavily focus on belt kit, it's not exclusive to that. They also have plenty of other pouches, clothing, and rucksacks that will be great with various other pieces of kit. So even if you're not interested in belt kit, there is still something there for you at JayJays' website. And the last I want to make about them, this is kind of important, is JayJay almost exclusively works with multicam material. It's genuine multicam, it is IR compliant. But it is multicam. It's not MTP. It's not really any other camos out there. So if you were trying to start a kit and you don't like the camos mixing and you want a specific type of camo that's not multicam, this might be a little difficult for you. You might be able to contact them about a custom order. If they even do that, just understand you have a significant increase in price. Now we zoomed into the actual pouch itself. And again, as the moniker of this video is, this is one of the best pieces of belt kit you could add to your loadout. Not for plate carriers and chest rigs. Already you can probably tell this is a pretty wide, baggy, and large pouch that may be a little weird having on your chest or on your cummerbund, depending on how you're rocking a plate carrier chest rig. Again, this is very focused on something that's going to go around your waist or your hip with a very secure belt system and harness. As for the pouch itself, it is 4 PALS webbing cells wide and 3 tall, at least in terms of its attachment point, and you can see another inch where it would hang down over whatever belt system you would be using. The dimensions of it is its height is between 180 millimeters, depth is 90 millimeters, and width is 180 as well. So a very rectangular shape for each one, with 2 stacked next to each other into a large square box. Now as for the rest of this pouch, we're going to go line by line, row by row, starting with the back. So the way this works, again, I already talked about the measurements, but what you have are standards PAL or Molle loops you can connect to the PAL webbing on your belt kit. Again, it stops down here so that you just don't have a use for it. It usually hangs below, which for me is fine because most belts I use usually stop well within these 3 to 4 rows of Molle or PALS webbing. Is the use of these reinserting tabs instead of a more traditional snap design you see on a lot of Molle pouches. This is an older snap design. You still see it a lot. My biggest issues with these is, though it usually does not hinder the integrity of the pouch staying on the equipment, a lot of times you'll have it snapped in place, or run around, do something out in the field, and then the snap will come loose. And then you'll just have these, snaps clinging together against you. For me, it does matter, and I like to see more and more pouches, at least for belt kit, go to this design, where all you do is once you weave into your belt, reinsert it through here, and you're good to go. Occasionally, I've seen these start to slip out similar to like this, but I've never seen them completely fall out, especially with it being against your body like a belt kit. Overall, I really like this design, and I like to see more kit do so. The other thing I want to talk about is something that's not seen on my pouches because I had cut them off early on. So what you see here are the remains of 2 dump pouch clips. These are some plastic retainer clips that come with the pouch, and the idea is you can slip straps for a dump pouch through it, amongst other things. Now, when I first saw this, I didn't really realize what they were for. I kind of tried to use them as a dump pouch, but my dump pouches had snaps on them, and they were very difficult to slide through the plastic retainers. And I said, oh, well, these are useless to me. I'm going to cut them off because they're dangling near my pant pockets. I don't want to get in caught anything, and chop them off. Overall, that was a big regret. I wish I had kept them, because what's great about these, especially with a dump pouch design that actually has a Velcro tab instead of a snap, is this absolutely provides valuable real estate for attaching a dump pouch to belt kit. For those who haven't done a lot of belt kit, if you start loading down a belt kit a lot, you're going to run out of real estate for a dump pouch, and you have to start layering it onto other pouches. Then those pouches take up space in front of the mouth of the dump pouch. It limits how quickly you can get stuff in and out of the dump pouch. It's a whole mess that most guys with plate carriers and chest rigs don't usually have to deal with, but belt kit does. So that does go a long way, and I do regret doing that. If I ever get more pouches like this in the future, I will not be cutting those off. And as a matter of fact, I probably will be using those. All right, I'm going to move to the side. So as you see here, you have 2 rows of webbing plus this little tab here. It's on the outside of each side of the pouch, with none in the center save for this little tab. So the tabs themselves, here, here, and here, are likely meant to be used as bungee points, whether it be for paracord or elastic bungees, to tie around these pouches, at least at the Velcro point with a tab over it, so that it can further tighten down the pouches when they're not being used, or if the flap is open, it would tighten it down and retain the magazines inside. For me, never had a use for it. I want to get to my pouches as quickly as possible. That type of tension might have an issue, and these flaps, as we will get to, are very well designed so that you won't have these being thrown about without being reinserted over the pouch. So for me, kind of useless, but it is cool that they have the option for you. They also serve as additional tie-down points, so I know what I like to do is sometimes dummy cord equipment to these. If I have something there like a compass or a paste bead, I'll just wrap around it. So there's still a use for it if you get creative with it. As for these sides here, I really like these. I wish more pouches had these. Famously, you see a lot of older kit, such as the old Alice magazine pouches, that would have a integrated grenade pouch. You see that with the Smirch equipment being carried over into the modern day. But with the issue with these type of pouches, a lot of times they're not modular. So having a modern pouch that has the same philosophy, but now makes it modular, gives you so many more options. I tend to have grenade pouches up front. Gives me extra space for that, and then on the back I either have it blank if I don't have space, or I'll put additional pouches for say radios or pyro, even magazine pouches that allow me to have more magazines. And what's great about this is, yes, you are adding width to your pouch, but you are not taking up actual PALS webbing on your belt kit, so it saves you a bunch of time on real estate on your kit. Alright, next we're moving to the bottom. You can see here we have 2 different drainage holes. Pretty small, but does the job. For me, I don't really care too much about that because I'm not really swimming with these pouches, but that is always good to have on a pouch. Next up, I want to talk about the tabs themselves. So this is just 1-inch webbing that they have just sewn on here and turned into a little lip tab with a hole in it. A couple things why I like this. One, it's 1 inch. It's not smaller. It's not wider. You have other pouch designs like this older surplus one where, yes, you do have a pull point, but you can't loop anything through it. You also have something like this with this smoke grenade pouch where you do have the loop design, but it's a much smaller hole, and it's like 1.5 inches wide, which is pretty wide, and it's kind of a pain to put, say, something like paracord through it. There's a lot of different ways to attach pouches. Obviously, some of these I'm showing you are not just designed for magazines, but you get the idea. Now, why does this matter? Well, it matters because even when all the way sealed up onto the pouch, there is still now an area where I can grip and grab. If it wasn't for that, I would be tucking on the side and trying to grab it, which are bare hands right now, not a big deal. With gloves on in a more tactical environment, it's a lot harder to do. Well, you can see what I've also done. This obviously does not come with them, are some paracords. So the first one up front, I have 1 knot. The one in the back, I have 2 knots. So when I'm feeling it, even through my gloves, I can feel that's that pouch, and this one is the other before I pull it, because I might have different stuff in there. And what's great is this also extends what I'm able to grab. Right, I can almost get a full hand in there as I rip it now. This is really great when I first started using this kit up in Alaska in an Arctic environment where I'm constantly wearing very thick gloves. This is also great in really any austere environment. Cold, rain, snow, mud, water. That type of ability is a nice thing to add. All right, next we're going through the cover and attachment point to the pouch. So first off, Velcro. Velcro, Velcro. So this is really the only physical attachment for this pouch to retain it. Other pouch designs you see have dual retainment. So this is an old surplus pouch. You have the small bit of Velcro and then a snap here. Now, to make a good pouch, you don't need to have dual retention like that. A lot of times, you see a lot in surplus pouches because they did not know who they were issuing their equipment to. They were trying to make singular designs meant for a large variety of personnel, including those that might be in aquatic operations where Velcro notoriously tends to fail. So they wanted that extra layer of retention for it. With that said, this has a different solution, not just for aquatic operations, but austere environments in general, which is the box cover design of this pouch. So you can see here, it's very rectangular in shape, even as you open it, right? It's not just a singular flap laying flat over. This is great for a couple of reasons. One, let's go with generalized cover. So inside this pouch, I got 3 Gen 3 Magpul magazines for AR-15. As you can see a little bit of the magazines here and a little bit there. Outside of that, those mags are completely protected from the environment. This is great, again, especially when I was up in Alaska. Any sort of snow that could get in there would then eventually become water, which would melt and then freeze into ice, and that would lead to a variety of jams. If you're in a sandy or muddy environment, that could be potential dirt that's not getting in there and jamming your magazines. Yes, there is a drainage hole down here, but nevertheless, this is a very well enclosed design. Something you may not see with, say, modern S-Tac magazines or taco pouches that are much more focused on speed than necessarily fully protecting the magazine. Another thing I want to talk about with this cover is the retention side again. So this box design actually has a great advantage to it. So let's go to, say, something very old school. Here's an Alice pouch, obviously several decades in the past. This has a plastic clip. You pinch down, open up, and you get your stand mags. Now let's say you're in a rush, you're trying to grab these, and you're trying to grab a mag, you take one out. This is going to be on your belt kit as well, so this pouch isn't going to be all the way back. It's probably going to be right here. And what happens? It's just staying there. Well, let's shake it around a bit. Great. It barely protected your pouches. Mag's still going to rattle, and they're going to start dumping out. All right, so essentially, unless you take your mag out and then take your other hand and bring it back to snap it in place, the retention on this isn't great until it's closed, right? Go to this design, open it up, take your mag out. Again, it's on your belt kit, so having your flap all the way like this isn't really going to happen often. Instead, it's going to be against your body, starting in a position like this. What happens when you drop it? Right, it just completely covers back over. Now, obviously, you still want to pat it down to fully ensure both sides of that Velcro having maximum surface area with each other. However, this is still a better design in protecting your mags and retaining it with that box design. Again, a lot of these designs are not unique to this pouch. It's just all these features in a singular pouch. Okay, another thing I love about this pouch is its ability to take a variety of different equipment. You see here, you have 3 Gen 3 Magpul magazines, 30 rounds each. What you have here are 3 kind of USGI stand mag 5.56 mags. Putting them in, super easy, much smoother with a trade-off. You see here, there's actually a little bit of space here. That's just fine, but even when you have it, not sure if you can hear that, but you do get a little bit of rattle. So I prefer the Magpul mags outside of just durability, but also the lips up here, the thickness of the magazines makes it have almost no ability to rattle around, especially with the cover closed on it. Next up, Airsoft mags for all the airsofters out there. What's important is this mag pouch is pretty deep, and with Airsoft mags being a little bit shorter than your real steel mags, it's important to make sure it doesn't go too deep. With this, still got plenty of pulling space. Close it up. You see the height difference there, but you can still grab them. Also, tip for a lot of these mags is when you reinsert these mags, do not push the mags to the end and put it here. It's going to be a little difficult with this lip to kind of get it in there. Instead, what you can do is either sandwich it in between or put it to the back, reinsert, and close. Next up are two Airsoft AR-10 style magazines. I do not have real steel AR-10s. I apologize. You can fit these in. So for all you FAL enjoyers and G3 enjoyers, you can. Just make sure the cover goes on the edges a little bit more. If not, it may expose them. What I will say though is, especially when you have these next to each other, hang on here, it gets a little tighter because you can see the wide mags are rubbing against each other. So sometimes it's easier to just have them both turn like this so that each one would be looking more like that. But either works to a certain extent. Next up, I do not have SMG magazines. I do have some M1 carbine 30 rounders. They can fit. It's going to be a little short in there, but they can fit. So get creative with it if you absolutely have to. There are things you can do. Maybe you got a PCC or something. Not the first choice, but if you had to, you could shove plenty in there. Got an Odin speed loader for all my airsofters out there. Absolutely great. Plus, you can stick another magazine in there with it. So, for all my airsofters out there, that's a great option. If you have to, handgun. I would recommend having one with a long double action trigger or a manual safety, as there are plenty of ways for something to get inside that trigger guard like this. However, soldiers sticking handguns in magazines, pouches are not new, and this could do so as well. Radios, cheap Bayo thing. I can shove it in there. The little notch here makes it to where I can close it with the antenna sticking out. Works pretty well. If you had a larger radio, again, if it's roughly the size of a magazine, it's going to fit pretty well in here. So there is an option there for you. Pyro, here's some Enola Gay medium grenades. I can fit two. I could probably fit a third in there, no problem. Here's a larger Enola Gay. You can stick one with plenty of space. You might be able to shove some other stuff in there, but it'll be a little difficult to shove more pyro. But you do have the option. Dummy grenades, different designs. For Airsoft, this is great. I can stick probably 3, sometimes cram 4 EG67s in here. For real steel grenades, if you ever require those, I would say probably look at other options than just shoving a grenade inside of a random magazine pouch. A magazine will rarely negligently discharge in any way that could lead to bodily harm, unless you get a hammer and nail right at the primer of a round. Grenades, all it takes is that pin to come out and you don't get a second chance. So try to use actual designated grenade pouches, but if you have to, you got the option. Alright, next up, AK. These are some old school metal ones. They do fit. It's not the greatest, but if you had to, you could. You can have a lot more of the magazine exposed. With just 2, you're going to have a lot of rattle. You can put a third in here. Here is a Magpul AK mag. Can put a third. That gives you more capacity. That stops your rattle issue. The problem is the cover struggles to go around it. It can technically retain, but not by much. So for AK users, you absolutely could use these, especially if you're using 20 round mags. With that said, there are much better magazines on the market for you. I got these pieces of junk. I don't even know what round it is. I think it's 45ers. Yeah, I mean, they're just as wide as normal stand mags. You can put 3 in here if you want. It's the same exact problem. Retention, better to drop to 2. Still not great, as a lot of the magazine is going to be exposed. A couple other things I don't have up here that could also work would be like water bottles, a small IFAK. I know what a lot of British soldiers allegedly did when they started transitioning to pouches similar to this when they moved from the FAL to the L85. Was they had these large pouches. They would shove like a small gauze pad or some socks in here and then put their magazine pouches above it. It would lead to it not seating at the bottom fully. It would go a little higher up, but it was still fully cover the mags for the most part, and they would have extra equipment at the bottom of it. Due to the width of the pouch, I do wonder with a 5.56 linked ammo how many links you could probably fit in here. If anyone knows, that'd be a cool test. I suspect you could probably fit 25. I'm not sure if you could do a full 50 round link in here, but at least you get some starter links if you had to cross load some ammo if you're nearby saw gunner or machine gunner. So that's pretty cool. Alright, so does this really count as a universal magazine pouch? In some ways, yes. In a lot of ways, no. Really, for me, what I care about is the ability to stick 5.56 magazines with some little extra goodies inside. As long as it covers the inside, it's good. The biggest issue is the height difference with a lot of magazines. You get extended magazines or even AK mags, and you start to have some issues. And that's why you often see specialized equipment specific for this type of stuff. Okay, next up is durability. So I have had these exact magazine pouches for 3 years. I've never been to war, hopefully never will, but to say I do a lot with these is an understatement, especially over those 3 years, whether it be shooting, hiking, rucking, or just airsoft games up in Alaska, down to the various content you've seen on this channel. If I'm wearing a belt kit, these magazine pouches have been on them. And what you have seen first off is some discolorization. I've never really thrown these in the washing machine or anything, so a lot of the dirt you see and grime on the outside has been through fading over time. Overall, though, it's still pretty good. You can still clearly see the pattern. What you have seen a little more is fraying around the Velcro panel. You can see little straps like this. I purposely haven't cut them off yet for the video. I'll do so afterwards now that this review's done. But that type of stuff still isn't an issue for the most part because I can just cut that off, put a lighter on it, and still the majority of the Velcro panel is still there and still doing its job. A little more worrying on my other magazine pouch. I'll show you close-ups of it. But right here you're seeing where the trimming is starting, the stitch is starting to come undone around the gross grain attached to the actual fabric. That can be repaired. I'm still on the fence of I'm just going to get a new magazine pouch, as 3 years is 3 years, and that's really good for any magazine pouch. So despite some durability foibles over the years, I would still give this A+ on durability. It has done a fantastic job in that regard. Alright, next up is price. So what is the price for this magazine pouch made in the UK, especially when most of my audience is in the US, with all of these features on it? So you were looking at $75 plus international shipping and handling as of 2024. I think a couple years back when I first got these, they were a little bit cheaper, but not by much. These are quality pieces of kit, and that comes with a price plus the shipping and handling. Which goes into conclusion. Would I recommend it? Well, within this niche caveat of belt kit, 100%. I mean, I think that's been pretty clear since I started this video. Are you willing to cough up the cash for it? That's on you. What I will say is get 2 of these, each being double, and that will take up large portions of your belt kit, but also give you an incredible amount of capacity, options, and modularity. So with that said, there's a lot to this pouch. This has probably gone on way too long for just a single pouch, but I stated my reasons why I wanted to do this video in the beginning. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any other questions, hit me up. And with that said, thank you guys for watching. Bye.